Sports card investing can be fun and profitable no matter what's your budget. Today, I'm showing you how you can get started whether you've got $200, $2,000, or $20,000 to spend. Hey everyone, my name is Tyler Nethercott, better known as T-Pott, and I am our Vice President of Product Development here at Sports Card Investor. Welcome to the first of many Market Movers Data Dives. This is a series that we're going to be running on the Sports Card Investor channel. If you've been following the Market Movers channel, you've been seeing a lot of episodes like this over there. We've decided that we wanted to move this over to the Sports Card Investor main channel, and we'll be using the Market Movers channel, which you can still follow for all kinds of tutorials and specific tips and tricks related to Market Movers. Today I'm really excited because I get a lot of questions from people about how they can get started into sports card investing and collecting. And everybody kind of worries, do they have the budget? What's the right budget? How much do they need? And today I'm here to show you that you can get started no matter what your budget is. So let's go ahead and get started right into it. All right, so if you're not already familiar, we're going to be using Market Movers, which is our sports card analytics platform. We've had this software application for about 18 months now, and it has come a long way since we started. We now have almost 300,000 cards in our database, and if you're interested about becoming a member, you can visit marketmoversapp.com, or you can go to the App Store and download the Market Movers app on Android and iOS. So I'm going to be showing you our My Collection Portfolio tool. This is a pro feature. You can compare the plans on marketmoversapp.com to see which one might be right for you. But what I've done is I've set up 3 different portfolios in my collection. And the first one that I did is a $200 portfolio. So imagine you have $200 to spend and you want to know how to get started. So what I've done is I'm going to show you exactly how I've broken this down. And the first player that I decided to go with was Kyler Murray. This is the most expensive card in this portfolio, $39.99. And the basic premise of what I did here was I went off recent comps. So obviously you could argue, hey, you gotta find these deals on eBay. That's 100% true. If you have a good plan, if you know the players and the cards that you're looking for, then you can find these deals on eBay, by using Market Movers, finding price points that you're interested in, and then even directly navigating to eBay from this tool to find those auctions as they're expiring or buy it now options. So that's kind of how I went about this. Obviously, this doesn't take into account any taxes if you're not set up with a business license or any shipping costs. I just had to keep it simple. So what we're saying is $200 more or less for the cost of the cards. So this first one, the Kyler Murray, $39.99. It's his 2019 Select Phenomenon. And what I really like about this card is it's extremely low population. It's pop 45 on this PSA 9. Now with a $200 budget, it's going to be difficult to get a lot of graded cards. The goal here that I was going for, quick wins, like cards that we can flip and sell within the coming 1 to 3 months. Think of this as like small cap type stocks. Again, you're working with a small budget. I know $200 can be a lot to some people, especially if you're just getting started. But in the sports card world, that's a relatively small amount. So what we're looking for really here is PSA 9s, some SGC 9.5s maybe, and mostly raw cards to get started. And in this case, this is our most expensive card. It's a PSA 9. And what I also really like about this card is that I think it has a lot of potential to grow. Now, Kyler Murray, his prices overall are about half of Justin Herbert's and anywhere from 10 to 20% less than Joe Burrow. And he's got more of a proven track record than both of those guys. Last year, Murray threw for over 4,000 or almost 4,000 yards. He rushed for over 800 yards. He had 37 total touchdowns and just 12 interceptions. And I really like Murray's upside in the long term. So one thing I like to do is come to these charts and just see what have these cards done historically. And you can see this card has seen some ebbs and flows. This is a type of card you got to catch at the right time. But in an in-season, strong performance from Murray, you could see this card get back up to, say, around $90. And again, we paid $39.99 for this card. So one thing that I've done here is I've actually set price alerts on a lot of cards. On this particular card, if I wanted to set a price alert, I can click on this and say I want this to be above. What I like to do is add a note to the beginning that says sell. And then let's say that I want to sell this card if it goes over $75. So I'm going to hit OK. And that saves a price alert on this card, which I can view by going to this Manage Alerts page, and scrolling, and you can see now I've set that alert so that if this card ever goes over $75, I'm going to get an email notification and a push notification on my phone letting me know that it's time to sell. So the next card on the list is this Luka Doncic Optic Blue Velocity. Now, finding a rookie Luka Doncic that's going to work with a $200 budget is going to be tricky. You could go all in on Luka. That's probably not what you're going to want to do. You want to diversify and have a little bit more fun, creating some wiggle room for yourself, an opportunity to sell things and make some more money and reinvest. I love color match cards. I'm huge on color match cards. I think they are becoming more and more popular. Now, the one thing I like about this card is that SGC 9.5s typically sell for anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 times what a PSA 9 does. And yet, if I look at this chart for this card, I can see that the PSA 9, which is Pop 225, is actually selling for more than what this Blue Velocity card did. So I think I caught this at a really low point. You know, maybe when people weren't paying attention to the SGC 9.5s, there's not as many of them. This is a good candidate to relist on a buy it now as Luka heats up before the season. All right, next on our list, Julio Jones. He's 32 years old. He's 20th all-time right now in receiving yards in NFL history. And he's within 1,000 yards of 13th overall, which is Chris Carter. And he's within 2,500 yards of number 4 overall, which is Randy Moss. I feel like Jones has a different kind of upside this year. He might not have 1,300 to 1,500 yards. You know, there's going to be some competition with Derrick Henry getting the ball and A.J. Brown and other targets on the team. But he has a good chance to win. This is going to be a different dynamic. He has a chance to be a veteran, influence on this team and really solidify his legacy. And right now, the Titans are minus 150 odds to win the AFC South. So I like the odds of the Titans to make the playoffs and to make another run. And Julio Jones certainly factors to be a big part of that. I went with his 2011 Topps Chrome Raw Refractor card for $35. And again, this is another card that's seen all kinds of volatility. And if we click over, you can see if I go over, let's say, the last 180 days. And, you can see that this card right now for $35 has, gone up as high, as a sale up at $87.50. So I never take any of these single sales into account too strongly. These are the average of different daily points, but you can see that the trend line has been down on this Julio Jones refractor. I like it better than a base card, and for $35, I think it's a smart buy. All right, next on the list, Terry McLaurin. Now, Terry McLaurin has 176 fewer yards receiving than DK Metcalf. That's it in their first 2 seasons, and 89 fewer than A.J. Brown. He only has 11 touchdowns compared to 17 and 19 for those other 2 guys, but this green scope card was an absolute steal at $29.84. And what I did was I pulled up DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown, and Terry McLaurin's silvers and their green scope cards. And you can see that this green scope card actually sold for the same price, and it's numbered to 75, as the normal silver card did just a few days later. So this one kind of slipped through on an auction. It ended at a really good price. And if you compare that to the $54 and $75, and then supposedly $250 for the DK Metcalf green scope, I'm much more bullish on McLaurin's upside and his, potential to boom than I would be on a player like DK Metcalf. All right, so next up on our list, Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns. Now, if you're looking at the MLB playoffs, I said I'm looking for investments that are going to mature in the next 1 to 3 months, and really teams that are headed for the postseason. Those players, those key players, should see a nice boost just before the postseason or if they perform well in the playoffs. Now, there's been this weird thing happening the last few years in professional sports where teams from the same city are winning championships, like the Lakers and the Dodgers, or the Lightning and the Buccaneers and the Rays making the World Series. This last year, the Milwaukee Bucks won the NBA Finals. Can the Milwaukee Brewers continue this streak of cities winning multiple championships in the same year? I don't know. I don't particularly think super highly of the Brewers' chances when you look at the Dodgers and even the Giants, but they have been performing really well, and they have 2 bona fide aces who are number 2 and 3 in ERA. Corbin Burns, obviously a strikeout machine, struck out 10 guys in a row earlier this year, so I think there's a lot of potential on these cards for the price. $28 on this rookie auto PSA 9 of Brandon Woodruff, and of these $5 rookie refractors of Corbin Burns in a raw format. All right, moving on quickly. Nikhil Alexander-Walker is a guy that Parker, who's on our team, he's our director of data for Market Movers. He did a write-up this last week on why he thinks NAW is a good buy going into this season. He should be the starting shooting guard for the Pelicans, and he should be getting increased minutes with Lonzo Ball and Eric Bledsoe both out of town now. Josh Hart should be moving into a lesser role, and Nikhil Alexander-Walker has a lot of potential. He can shoot the 3 ball. He can pass, relatively well. He's long and athletic. He's a guy I think could average 18 to 20 points per game this season, and if he does that, this Optic Holo Raw could go up to $20, $25 potentially, depending on his performance this upcoming year. Coby White's a guy who had a lot of hype around him his rookie year and had a bit of a sophomore slump, even though his production actually went up from his rookie year. He just didn't take the leap that a lot of people had hoped for and expected. He did average 17 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds in May earlier this year. There's going to be some competition for shots. They brought in some new guys in Chicago, but overall for the price, $761 for an Optic Holo, I think it's a good investment on Coby White. Very low floor and high potential ceiling to multiply 2 or 3x depending on what he does. And then finally, I rounded out my last few dollars with Jude Bellingham, one of the top 5, maybe 10 young players under 21 in the world in soccer, and hard to go wrong with his Champions League rookie card. There are a lot of different rookie cards for this year's soccer product, but for $2, $3 a piece, that was a nice way to fill out our $200 budget. So summing this all up, this is how it kind of broke down for our ratio. We had 52% football, which is a season that's coming up. We had 26% basketball and 19% baseball, and then we had a little soccer piece in there. This is one of the really nice features about my collection portfolio tool, is that you can summarize by sport, by player, and other, by grade, to kind of see what your breakdown is in your portfolio. All right, so moving on to our $2,000 portfolio, and I'm going to go a little bit faster here, but we're looking for kind of mid-cap and blue chip type investments, but blue chip that have some short-term potential to really boom. So a couple of small cap type pieces in this portfolio as well. We're looking to flip some of these within the next 1 to 3 months, and we're looking to hold some of these into the earlier part of next year. And this portfolio is mostly going to be PSA 9s. So what I can show you here is we can look at this actually by player, and you can see this is the breakdown of our player mix. It shows you this pie chart up here, and the first player I want to look at is Kevin Durant. I actually went with 3 Kevin Durant cards. I don't need to say a lot about Durant as a player. The Nets are the Vegas odds at plus 240 to win the finals next year. He's considered, obviously it's him and Steph, considered probably number 2 and 3 in the league since they came into the league, other than LeBron. And overall, Durant's cards are down 61% in the last 6 months. 61%. So I am extremely bullish on Durant. I've personally been buying a fair amount of Durant cards, including all 3 of these cards for my own portfolio. So this is more than hypothetical. I'm not trying to pump these cards. I do plan to hold Durant into the season, but I think that Durant's a really smart buy right now. And so I went with, kind of diversified with 3 different cards. And again, if I were to pull these charts up, what you would see is that Durant's card prices have come down drastically. I can click on the last 180 days, and you can see that at its highest point, this card was around $1,000, $1,100, and it's all the way down now to $349, which is why I really like it. It's a low population card, pop 424 on the PSA 9s, and only 142 higher in PSA 10. So Kevin Durant's a player that I really like in this $2,000 type portfolio. The next player I want to highlight is Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's cards, also like Durant, have come down drastically. This is not sleepless in Seattle. This is people sleeping on Seattle. They're projected to go 11-5 this year, but they are in a really tough division. And Wilson had 14 touchdowns and 1 interception last year in September. This year he faces the Colts, the Titans, the Vikings, and the 49ers in his first 4 matchups. He played really well against San Francisco last year. I don't think their defense is as good as people think it is. The Vikings don't really have that great of a defense. The Colts do have a pretty good pass defense, and the Titans were one of the worst passing defenses in the league last year. So look for Russell Wilson to potentially light it up in the first month of the year, and if he does that, his card prices are going to be going back up drastically. And again, he's another guy like Durant who I can look at and compare to, let's say, the last 180 days, and you can see his card prices have come down drastically. So I'm looking for Wilson to pick up and even get back up to this halfway point, and he might be a nice flip into the middle or the early part of the NFL season. All right, the next player that I went with is Ronald Acuna Jr. I picked actually 2 of Ronald Acuna Jr.'s cards here to diversify. I found both of these on pretty good deals, and so the idea here is hold until next season, wait and see if the hype builds around Acuna before the season and creates a nice opportunity to flip one of these and then to be able to hold another one for the longer term, either into the middle of the season or even longer for years to come. All right, the next player I'm looking at is Kris Bryant, and this one might feel a little bit funny. It even felt a little bit funny adding it. I think a lot of people have forgotten about Kris Bryant, and he's not doing anything remarkable right now. But the Giants are remarkable, and the Giants are absolutely killing it. Now, he's batting 5th with the Giants. He's batting about the same. His performance is about the same as it was with the Cubs, which is solid. It's not bad. Brandon Crawford has been the absolute offensive all-star or all-around all-star, frankly, for the Giants, but his card prices are already on the uptick over the last 30 days, so I didn't want to pick up any Brandon Crawford cards. Buster Posey's obviously one of the greats in the Giants franchise over the last decade, but I specifically thought Bryant is the type of guy with former MVP. He's got the kind of overall appeal, the star power around him, that if the Giants make a run, you have to think that Kris Bryant is going to be a factor in that. And if he has even one game where he hits a big home run, or he does something that wins a series, his cards could shoot up really quickly. And I feel like the thing I like about this card is that it has stayed relatively flat over the last 90 days. So, even if we look at this card over the last 180 days, it's come down somewhat. It's mostly flat. So the risk doesn't seem super huge to me, but the reward seems like it could potentially pay off. So this is kind of one of those like boom or bust type of cards, although I do think it has a relatively low floor even going into next season. Okay, so next up, OG Aninobi. Now, he plays for the Raptors. I really like his upside. This is a guy he's come on bit by bit slowly in the NBA. He's going into his 5th season now, and I see him as an up-and-comer. He kind of reminds me of a little bit of Chris Middleton, or maybe even of Danny Granger, if any of you remember him from years back. He's a solid defender. He's long. He's got a strong frame, and last year he increased his three-point shooting to almost 40%. He should be getting a lot more minutes this year. So for his Prism Silver PSA 9, at Pop 273, I picked this up at $49.50, and this is a card that I'd be looking to go up to maybe around $80, and then look to sell it potentially. All right, Dak Prescott. Here's another guy that people forgot about a little bit. A lot of people are high on him. I think the biggest thing is that division is super weak this year. It's up in the air. Cowboys always seem to choke, and I am not a Cowboys fan, unfortunately. But I do think that this was a smart pickup, and one of the things I really like is that it's Pop 24 on this card, and you can see last 30 days down 50%, last 90 days down 33%. Got this one at an absolute steal for $150, and this is one that I'd be looking to potentially double in the season if Dak starts lighting it up and the Cowboys are having success. All right, so the last 2 cards, and I'll show it in a different view here, are this Cam Reddish Red Ice and this Darius Garland Red Ice. I liked what I saw from Cam Reddish last year in the playoffs and limited appearances. That was a guy with a lot of potential in college, a lot of hype. Some people even thought he was the best player going into college over Barrett and Zion. And he was injured, but he looked really good, and he's got the potential and he's got the frame. He could become an absolute assassin in this league if he finds his shot. And Darius Garland, he has statistics that remind me a lot of Chris Paul early in his career. If you look at their numbers, the points plus the assists, he's doing things that honestly only Chris Paul did in the last 10 to 15 years as a rookie and into his sophomore year. So I like the potential upside on these. These are definitely your kind of more small cap type pieces that they could drop in half next year if these guys don't do anything. But if they do start to perform, they could really see some nice upticks. And I like the Red Ice because the pop count, 44 on the Garland and 63 on the Reddish, very low. And you've got some kind of like almost color match for the Hawks and the Cavs. All right, so the moment you've been waiting for is we're moving on to the $20,000 collection. And this is a really exciting one. And I'm just going to kind of go through this quickly. I'm not going to go necessarily line by line like into every player. You're going to know all these players. The strategy here is more large cap, blue chip players whose prices are down overall. This is PSA 10s, BGS 95s, and PSA 9s. And overall, I went with 22 different players here. So I'm just going to go over. I'm actually going to do the same thing that I did before and kind of show you the player list. And you can see that it breaks it down really nicely. If I look at this by sport, I've got 61% basketball. Basketball is the sport that I am most bullish on in terms of investment potential overall, both short-term and long-term. 19% football, 16% baseball, and 4% tennis. So I will show you that card in a moment. So let's just scroll through this list. And, you know, I went with this Kobe Bryant Topps Finest Airs with coating, $2,900. This is the most expensive card in the portfolio. This is a low pop 221 card. It's one of my absolute favorite Kobe rookies. The refractor, which has that kind of atomic refractor look, is honestly my favorite Kobe Bryant card maybe in existence. Absolutely stunning card, but far too expensive. It would take over this entire budget. But this is a great one to go with for Kobe, and his prices are down. You got this Jeter 1996 first year Topps Chrome PSA 10. And this card is pop 48, and what I really like about this card, you know, it's lower population than his rookie cards. It's hard to go wrong with his rookie cards, but if I look over the last 180 days, look at how much this card has come down. I like the potential of this Jeter to slowly rise back up over time. Maybe not this meteorically up to this price point, but over time I do think it has that $4,000 to $5,000 potential. Clayton Kershaw getting ready to head into the playoffs as the favorites again to make the World Series. Could be 3 years in a row making the World Series. You know, they could win it back to back. He's certainly a big part of that. Walker Buehler has taken over as the bona fide ace of that staff, but Kershaw is still remarkable, having an amazing season. Even though it's his worst season in many years, it's still better than most in the majors. And I went with this card, his Bowman Draft Chrome Auto card. This is another one that's come down significantly and really hard to go wrong with a Bowman Chrome Auto of Clayton Kershaw. Dwayne Wade, his card prices are down significantly, and that's the theme throughout a lot of these players. This is a card that was up, I think, you know, 2-3x just a few months ago. With earlier this year, PSA 9, this card is pop 210 and is Topps Chrome Refractor. You can't go wrong with a Topps Chrome Refractor of any rookie card, so I went with that for Dwayne Wade. Dirk, another one, the Finest Refractor, PSA 10, pop 30. I love the idea of owning a pop 30 PSA 10 Dirk Nowitzki, you know, rookie card. This is another one that I think would be a really, really smart long-term hold. Kevin Durant, this is one that you could hold, or if this card picks up significantly in the next season again, you could sell it then and reinvest some of the profits into this. But again, you know, relatively low population when you compare this to newer rookie cards. This is a nice card, and we saw what Durant prices have done. Okay, this one's super cool. This is a Peyton Manning Fleer Brilliance from 1998. It's his rookie year. And this is just pop 6 in the PSA 9, pop 4 on the PSA 10. And if you compare this to some of his other cards, it's spectacular looking. It is an insert from Fleer Brilliance, but I mean, I really, really like this card. The 90s was all about inserts. People appreciate these. And this is the type of card that I think has $3,000 to $4,000 to $5,000 potential over the next 1 to 2 years. Okay, color match cards. Kyler Murray. You know what I said about Kyler. PSA 10 on this red ice. Pop 85. I think that's a really, really good buy. You got this, you know, Jordan. Again, I talk about inserts. I didn't go with the 80s rookie cards. You can't go wrong with that. But again, we were on a budget, so I went with some 90s inserts. This one's pop 67 and has seen a significant price decrease in the last 180 days. PSA 10. Here we've got a Chris Paul PSA 9 Topps Chrome Refractor for $785, pop 45. Chris Paul cards have come down 20 to 30% in the last few months since they were bounced from the playoffs, and he is still one of the all-time great point guards, one of the top probably 5 point guards in NBA history. Here's the tennis card, Roger Federer. This is the glossy PSA 10. These are numbered to 100, and this card is a pop 66 in the PSA 10, so pretty high gem rate on the PSA 10s. $776. This card was up multiples over this within, you know, over the last year or so. Hard to go wrong with one of the all-time greats. Federer has 20 Grand Slams, which is the most all-time, tied with Rafael Nadal. Obviously, he's the king of the grass. Nadal's the king of the clay. For me, when you think of tennis, you think Wimbledon, which is grass, and that's Federer, but you could go with Nadal, you could go with Djokovic, you could go with Serena Williams. Any of these great tennis players would make great investments in a long-term portfolio. Russell Wilson, don't need to say much more other than PSA 10 Topps Chrome base card. Another Jordan insert. These are really cool. These Emotion Intense from 1994. Pop 327 on this PSA 10, and it's $721. Went with a Devin Booker. I still love Devin Booker long term. He's definitely one of the bright shining stars in the NBA. And this is kind of that color match with the orange and purple. Pop 30 on this PSA 9. can't quite remember off the top of my head how many higher, but it's not a lot. So hard to go wrong with that card, and a better deal than the silver, honestly. And then Luka. We've got to have some Luka in the portfolio. I could have went heavier on Luka, but I wanted to make sure to have some of those true, all-time great blue chip players. So I went with a couple of unique ones. A PSA 9 scope on the select. This is a sneaky one to me that I feel like has a low floor and a high ceiling. Absolutely beautiful cards, reminiscent of the PMGs from the 90s, and it's cheaper than the silvers, and they're lower population. So I like the scopes upside, $645. And then we got the Revolution Chinese New Year PSA 10 Pop 196. That really cool kind of cracked ice feel on a Revolution card. Super, super cool. Awesome looking card, and just $550 for the PSA 10 Luka. And then this is a big card. This Kevin Garnett with coating. This is a Pop 340. It's really probably one of his best rookie cards in a PSA 10. And if we look at this card, it is down significantly. If we look at this card over the last 100 or 365 days, look what happened to this card. And it was up, over $3,000. And now it's all the way down to $540. So even if this card doesn't get anywhere sniffing near this is easily and should be at least a $1,500 to $2,000 card. So right now at $540, no brainer on Kevin Garnett, one of the greatest power forwards of all time. Speaking of one of the greatest of all time, Shaq, obviously one of the greatest at his position. I went with an insert. I don't love those 1992 base PSA 10 cards. I'm not a big fan of them in general. I'd rather go with a lower population insert. These Ultra Rejectors were 1 in 26 packs, and this is just Pop 238 on the PSA 10. And then I went with Calvin Johnson Megatron on the color match, PSA 9, Pop 28, Topps Chrome Blue Refractor. Great deal on this card. This one was super sneaky. If you compare Michael Porter Jr., who I think is, still potentially a budding star in the league, if you compare this blue, which is kind of a color match mosaic card, and it is Pop 25, to his other cards, other sets, Prism Silver, other things, this card is an absolute steal. Whoever actually bought this card got an absolute steal, and this is one I'm actually probably going to be keeping an eye out for going forward. Okay, moving right along, we've got Drew Brees. Had to bring in Drew Brees. People kind of forgot about him right now, but they will remember him when he's inducted into the Hall of Fame. First ballot Hall of Famer, probably one of the five for sure 10 greatest quarterbacks of all time. Pop 223 on this PSA 9 factory set. I'm not quite sure how many higher, but this was a card that was down and is at $246. And then you've got another Michael Jordan. This is a nice parallel, the gold medallions. I love the gold medallions and the platinum medallions from Ultra. They're some of the most beautiful cards, the original golds, if you will. And this one's Pop 152 on the PSA 9. And I think it's pretty low on the PSA 10 count. Awesome photo, as always, of Jordan. And then rounding it out, Barry Sanders PSA 10 rookie card. Can't go wrong there. Adrian Peterson, BGS 9.5 Topps Chrome Refractor. And finally, had to have a token Tom Brady card. A Tom Brady 2012 Prism base card, PSA 9. Obviously, first year Prism. Brady in his Patriots uniform. I could have found a way to go for higher price Brady, but I really wanted to go heavier into basketball. You could go a million different directions with 20,000 bucks, but hopefully this was helpful. So if we look at the grades, I've got PSA 10 at 44% of the portfolio, PSA 9's at 47%, and BGS 9.5 at 8.5% of our portfolio. Okay, one other cool thing I want to show you related to my collection is that we have this My Price Movements feature. And what this does is it takes all the cards in your portfolio, in your collection, and puts them into our Price Movements tracking tool. And if I look at these cards over the last 180 days, I'm just going to change this filter down to 1 just to really see all the transactions. What you will see is that I targeted cards that had decreased significantly in the last 180 days because that presents a lot of potential for these cards to go back up. And you can see almost all of these cards are down. That was by design. I used market movers to do that research. I started with our basic price movements pages by player and by card, and that's how I found these particular cards and targeted in on them. So only a few of these cards are actually up in the last 180 days. And I obviously explained my rationale for why I was going after some of these ones. All right, a little bit longer video. We're kind of kicking it off here with a lengthier one, but I hope that this kept you engaged, and I hope that this was something for everybody. It gives you something, you know, to kind of chew on, to think about in terms of your strategy. The most important thing is to have a plan, and you can really build that plan by using the data that's accessed in Market Movers. It's honestly invaluable. Our goal with the membership is that you're able to make your money back in multiples by having access to this data and to the development work that myself and our team and our developers are putting in every single day. Again, if you're interested, go to marketmoversapp.com. You can download our app on the App Store. You can also download our free Sports Card Investor app on Android and iOS. It's completely free to use. It has some of the similar data, some basic charts, and some card rankings in there. It's a really cool gallery view, so check that out as well. I'm looking forward to being on this channel every week and to bringing you more great content. If you like this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and leave your comments down below. I always love reading the comments. Even if you disagree with me, feel free to disagree, and as always, I'll talk to you next time.